Well, Linda Burney is joining me this morning. She's the opposition spokesperson for Families and Social Services and also for Indigenous Australians. She's the federal member for Barton and she grew up in Whitton. Linda, good morning.
Good morning, Sally.
Linda, is the JobSeeker program too generous?
No, I really reject that idea that it's too generous, and also reject the view that it is the amount of JobSeeker is stopping people from applying for jobs. There are lots of reasons about why some vacancies do exist, but what we do know, and these numbers are very real, is that it is much more difficult to get a job in the regions than it is in the cities. In the cities, the average is there are about 13 positions for every, 13 job seekers for every position. But when you go to regional Australia, on average, there's about 28 people on job seeker for every single position.
So the comment that was made to us yesterday from Tees was that they had positions vacant, they're unable to fill them. So what do you believe we should be doing to ensure that positions like that can be filled while still supporting people who are unable to get work?
Well, you're absolutely right in what you say. Job seeker, the amount will be reduced come the end of this month. I think it's going back to an additional 250 over the base rate of the old New Start. We do know that the danger, or what Labor is calling for from the government, is a permanent increase to the rate of job seeker, and that should be announced immediately so that people can actually plan for their future. We know that the old amount of New Start, which was about $40 a day, was an absolute disincentive for people finding work. The point that you raised, Sally, about individual areas like meatworks and fruit picking, it is much more complex than saying that job seeker is too generous. Job seeker is not too generous. In fact, the government needs to increase the base rate permanently.
But then, Linda, what would your message be to people who are looking at the approach of the fruit harvest? They know that they can't get people to come and pick that fruit because they're in regional areas where, as we say, the jobs are not as plentiful, but they still can't get people to come and pick fruit. I mean, there's got to be a way around this.
Well, I understand that a lot of the fruit picking people who pick fruit are people who come in for seasonal work from other countries, and obviously that's very difficult at the moment. And many people that are on particular visas also pick fruit, and that's also extremely difficult at the moment with COVID-19. So the idea that just because you're on job seeker that you can uproot your family and yourself and go to a regional area is not a practical one. And I do think that there is reasons that some industries that can't find enough workers, they need to look at their industries. They need to be talking to the government, which does not have, in my view, a jobs plan. There has been so many cutbacks, particularly in regions of universities, of infrastructure projects, of things like TAFE courses. I mean, you would be seeing that in Wagga and right across the Riverina.
Yeah. Some farming groups are saying people just won't work, though. They're saying that people will not go and seek those jobs. There had in the past been a sort of a harvest type window where payments are stopped during the local harvest period. I'm assuming you would not support that?
No, I wouldn't support that at all. I think that compelling people to pick fruit is not a jobs plan. And the other thing, of course, is that I have a lot to do, Sally, with people who are on various social security payments, and I can tell you that I have not met anyone that does not want to work, because it brings with it purpose and pride and a self-worth and giving back to the community, and those things are very real.
So then, what is the way forward from this? Because we're facing a harvest where, as you said, we can't get people in from overseas. The backpackers just aren't there. So what happens to food security?
Well, that's a question that the government needs to really address. I mean, it's a very real issue that you're raising, and raising very, very, very appropriately. But the government simply does not have a plan, particularly for regions, and that is being borne out by the statistics.
So, Linda, the way forward, how confident are you that we can get a resolution to this? Because there would be people who, as you say, they're very nervous about the prospect of that payment rate dropping back. What do you think the future's going to hold?
Well, I hope that the government sees fit to announce their intentions, whether they do it in 3 weeks' time in the budget speech, or preferably sooner. Let people know what their income is going to be. I mean, the sad fact is that a lot of people that have become unemployed and have gone on to JobSeeker as a result of COVID are younger people, and particularly between the ages of 24 and about 40. We know that women in the older categories have been very affected by this as well. And we also know that pre-pandemic, that there were many people who were losing their job in their 50s and 60s who had very little prospect of getting another job, and that's just become much harder.
And of course, this will have a knock-on impact on rural and regional economies, because there'll be less disposable income in the community.
Yeah, that's a really important point to make, is that with the winding back or a snapback of whether it's JobKeeper or JobSeeker, what you're going to see, and it will affect regional businesses and small businesses, is less available money, and therefore the economy will suffer.
Linda Burney, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thanks, Sally.